So that's how
Microsoft.
I reached to the point where I joined as Microsoft as an intern back in the year 2017, and that's where I got a PPO, which is a pre-placement offer. So before my fourth year, I had a job in hand, and basically, yeah, that's my journey. There are some learnings, and there are some things I want to just disclose. The top three learnings I got was one, you need to have problem-solving skills, logic building abilities that comes from DSA. That is one. Second is uh, you need to have something that can complement your DSA skill. Like in my case, it was web development. It could be data science for someone else. It could be blockchain or cybersecurity, anything that can help you to stand different from the crowd. Because DSA is something everybody is aware that they need to do that. But having certain projects on certain tech stacks that can help the interviewer to understand that you have actually done some industrial level understanding projects, that actually adds a differentiating factor. And the third is communication. How do you speak? How do you communicate your thoughts? How well you are able to articulate your thoughts in the interview? That actually makes a difference. So these three things is something when I look back, I see contributing in my case to make it a differentiating factor. And the same thing I can suggest everyone.
Perfect. So I will just recap a bit for the time the Shubham's voice was not audible. So, folks, everyone, Shubham is SD2 at Microsoft, and he got an internship and then converted into PPO. Like a lot of people, he had just said that he got into computer science because everyone was getting into. Okay, so it was not something that was his
Planned.
calling, but planned. But when he got into it, he really got into it, right? He did projects, he did web development, and then he did DSA, and then he cracked the interview at Microsoft in the internship, and then converted into a PPO. So the major part of that was DSA, Shubham. Is that the correct thing to say, that during the cracking of the interview that played the most important role?
Absolutely. If you're aiming for any MAANG company, if I'm talking about specifically MAANG company, DSA is one such thing that you cannot get away with. You need to have a strong fundamental of DSA. It might the My answer might change if you're talking about service-based companies or startups, but if you're specifically talking about MAANG, it's DSA. Yes.
So do you also interview people in Microsoft?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have interviewed a lot of people actually in Microsoft.
Okay, so on what basis? Like you have been through you have been the person who got interviewed, right? And
Hmm.
now you are
Hmm.
interviewing. When you are on
Hmm.
the other side of taking the interview, what do you see in the students? What do you think these guys made it well? Of course, DSA is part of it, but could you walk us through the mindset of an interviewer when they are interviewing in MANG companies?
So couple of things which I can point it out, which is different than just the technical skill set of a student, especially if I talk about DSA. The very first thing is the listening skill, because in any interview, after the basic introduction is done, the interviewee should be able to understand and listen to the interviewer's question. A lot of time I have faced a scenario where I have not even completed the question, or I'm not done explaining the question for the interviewee, but the interviewee is jumping into the answer, and in those cases answers are absolutely not aligning with the question I was asking. So that's the biggest turn off as an interviewer I have faced. If the interviewer has to tell you that listen to my question first, that means you are half done. I mean, that means you have just messed up in the beginning itself. So being able to be a good listener, try to understand and hold on your patience, let the thoughts complete of the interviewee. That's the first thing I would suggest everyone to make sure of. The second thing, what is something I see people jumping onto it, is uh, trying to give a solution immediately, right? Not letting the time to grasp it. Like for example, I asked you a question, you directly jumped into an answer without giving it a second thought, right? And then again in the next minute you just changed your answer saying that, oh, maybe that was incorrect, this is my correct answer, right? So that patience, that calmness before speaking out, that is something I see as a differentiating factor. That is second. And the third is, let's suppose I gave you a difficult question which actually requires 15-20 minutes of your time to solve it. Not being silent for 15 minutes is also essential. You should constantly be talking about what is your approach, what is right now you're thinking. Not continuously for 15 minutes, but every 30 seconds or 40 seconds or maybe every 1 minute, you can talk about, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm writing, or this is the way the pseudocode might look like. I'm still trying to make it optimized. So constant exchange of thoughts is something I would also recommend. There shouldn't be a prolonged moment of silence in the interview. So these three things I think is something on top of my mind. Yeah.
So there are moments when you should stay silent, and there are moments when you should not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just that you should know when to do what. That is the key.
Nice, nice. So now let's look at the role reversal again. When you were the student, right? And when
Mm.
anyone is a student, there's an anxiety. Of course, you are sitting in the
Yeah.
big interview, right?
Exactly.
Microsoft, Google, these are the dream companies for so many
Mm.
people. And
Mm.
it's obvious that you will get anxious, you will be
Yeah.
fidgety, and
Mm.
all of those things, right? So,
Mm.
uh, as a student, when you sat in those interviews, what made you crack it? How did you keep the nerve, or how did you practice? What was the thought then?
So first thing is how much ever you practice, how much ever you are calm in your real life, when there is something to lose, you will be anxious, right? And frankly speaking, I was very anxious in my interview because you know that, right? You are going to either go for Mang or you are going to lose the opportunity to go into Mang, like Microsoft in my case. So anxiety will hit you in. And I remember clearly the moment I walked into the room of the interviewer. That was pre-COVID time, so the online interview was not very common. People used to visit in the college to take the interviews. We had to carry resume in our hand while entering the interview. So the moment I interviewed, the interviewee just like spread his hand towards me. I thought he's asking for a resume, but he was looking for a handshake. Instead of a handshake, I handed my resume to him, right? So it started with awkwardness, and that was the time I felt, damn, what did I do? So I was very anxious, definitely. Even while solving the question, there were thoughts coming in my mind that what if I'm not able to solve this question? I'll lose the opportunity to join the company, right? So it's very okay. It's very normal to have those thoughts. I think the biggest way to overcome that is not to try to prevent it, but you should try to handle it well. So handling it well is something the key factor people should understand. The very first thing is how you can handle is something by being in that situation multiple times, like mock interviews. Lot of time, find people who can take your mock interview. If students who are listening are part of Capabl conducts sort of mock interviews as well. So be a part of mock interview where you are comfortable with the setup of you being judged by someone, and someone throwing questions at you, right? So that's comfort. You might find comfort over there. Second, sometimes what I feel is if you are prepared for 100%, your performance will be 70%, right? 30% reduction is there. If you are prepared 70%, your performance will be 40%. So definitely, if you are prepared, completely prepared, it adds sense of confidence in you as well. Let's suppose I have this mindset that DSA has had 10 topics, I've covered 7 topics, right? If I have this mindset and I enter the interviewer room, I will have a different body language because I know I have not covered 3 topics. So either a question might be coming from those 3 topics. So the body language might change if I have this thing in my mind that I have covered all the topics. Let him bring the question I have because I have solved most of the topics, right? So preparing end to end everything before joining into the interview or going into the interview adds the confidence. So that's what I think can help you handling things. Yep.
Now let's come back to the other role. When you see people so anxious, as an
Hmm.
interviewer, do you help them calm down, or is it? How does that work? Because you might be seeing that kind of
Yeah.
behavior
Yeah.
every
True. True.
time, right?
Absolutely. As a person, I definitely calm them down. I there have been situations where I have just asked them, "What's the last movie have you watched?" Because I wanted them to have a conversation with me before answering questions. I have also asked people, "What is the best anime series you like?" So such question usually creates an environment where they are calm. But again, that is interviewee specific. I do that, but that doesn't mean every interviewer in the MAANG might do it. Someone might get offended by saying that how can you be anxious? You should be prepared. So as an interviewee, I should be very comfortable with whatever interviewer is saying. I should be able to handle things out. So you might see people calming you down, but you might see people getting not be okay with you being anxious and not able to think do things. Yeah.
So all sort of means what I wanted to understand was that is that a practice in general with folks that okay they calm people down, or is
Ah,
that not a practice? That's not a
that's not a
practice.
practice. That's a personality trait you might find in the interviewer if you are lucky. So yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
So yeah, I mean then the student have to be prepared for everything, right?
Absolutely.
So now let's start with the processes. This was
Mm.
just the beginning aspect. Okay, you are going in MANG, expect everything, and
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
okay to be anxious. It is okay to be nervous. It is okay to be fidgety. Instead of handshake, okay to hand over the resume. But the idea is calm yourself down,
Yeah.
get back
Mm.
yourself, and then do things. Right
Correct.
now, let's start from there. Okay, this is
Mm.
done. What are the first, second, third steps? Interviews. First step is resume selection, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what is the major part in the resume that gets someone selected in MAN versus not?
No, first thing, resume selection. If I talk about in-campus placement, Okay, when the company has visited your college, getting the resume selection is quite easy because colleges has the data of your CGPA and all that stuff. So that's not a major blocker. The major blocker comes when you have to solve DSA questions. So the first round usually is a coding round where you have to implement three questions, get the test cases passed, and be in the top 15% of the number of people who have appeared. Right? That's the major blocker in the in-campus interviews. In the off-campus interviews, what I feel is in terms of resume, even if you have mentioned, 3 to 4 languages, C, C++, Java, talking about freshers, and if you have mentioned few projects that involves maybe React or maybe Node, things like that, chances of your resume getting shortlisted is quite easy. But again, you have to go through the tech implementation round where you have to solve questions, get the test cases passed, and then automated evaluation result will come that can let you know that if you are landing in top 15% or not. If you are there in top 15%, then the interview cycle starts. So major blocker is the first round itself.
Got it, got it. So, in general, how many people get selected from campus? How many from off campus? Approx.
So in a college, mostly I have seen 3 to 4 people getting selected out of 200 or 300 who sits. So the ratio is like 1% or 1.5%. And after that, what I see is in terms of off campus, it depends upon the requirement. But off campus placements are slightly lesser for freshers. It's mostly for lateral hires. But off campus, the ratio is similar. 100 people applying, 1% gets getting selected. So again, 1%.
Okay, for off campus, what is the major thing which gets highlighted in a resume and then the MAANG person says, okay, seems like let me talk to the person? What could that
Uh,
be?
Yeah, in terms of off campus, again, for freshers, if I talk about, lot of time, resume is not playing a major role for the freshers because people understand that you cannot look for experience in the resume. You cannot look for industry level projects in the resume. I mean, one or two you can. So mostly how the process goes for Microsoft or any company for fresher hiring is they mostly reply to most of the. I mean, if there are 5,000 resumes coming in, even if you are mentioning CGPA more than 8, or even if you're mentioning few technical skills like C, C++, Java, Python, things like that, or a couple of projects, even if your resume is decent, you can be in top 10% with these aspects. And being in top 10% per percent will give you, there might be 1,000 or 2,000 people in top 10%, and then you have to go through tech evaluation round. Okay, but again, you have to go via referral. Directly applying on career portal might not give that results, so it has to go via referral. That is for sure.
Perfect. And for referral, we can always reach out to you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So now coming to this aspect that okay, they did the resume selection in the tech
Mm.
round. Is it
Mhm.
mostly DSA aptitude? What is the break like?
In tech round, it's just DSA. It's just DSA. I mean, three questions you'll get. The questions are equivalent to the medium level questions of lead code, and you have to solve those questions. Get the test cases passed. So there are 15 test cases per question. So in total, you can assume three questions, 15 test cases each, 45 test cases in total. So out of 45, if you should be able to cross at least 30 to 35 test cases passed, you might be able to qualify for the next round. Again, that number depends upon how other people have performed in the same interview. But mostly what I talk about from my experience, three questions I had faced during my time, I was able to solve two completely, one very partially, and I was able to move to the second like interview round. So I think that the same thing if followed, at least two questions completely solving and third question half, that could be the benchmark.
How? What are the topics in DSA which people should be looking at?
So one thing is for sure, people generally assume that if it is MANG, they'll be asking questions from dynamic programming, graphs, and trees because these are advanced DSAs. But what I feel is MANG asks questions from easy topics, complex problems from easy topics, is what I would say. Arrays is the first topic people usually go for, and it's the most simplest topic. And people usually just read arrays because they're able to solve most of the questions in arrays. They move to second topic, which is strings, then move to linked list, tags, queues, and lav, right? But there are a lot of complex problems that can be created in arrays itself, right? And those kind of things, MANG usually creates the questions around clubbing arrays with sorting algorithms, or clubbing arrays with binary search, or clubbing arrays with strings, things like that. Interconnected topics which are basic in nature individually. Like if I talk about arrays, strings, and searching, these are very basic topics. But I can create a question. The simplest thing students can do is Go to ChatGPT, tell ChatGPT, create a DSA question, one DSA question which has the aspects of arrays, strings, and searching and sorting. They will find a complex problem from the easy topic, and that's the kind of question they might face in the MAANG.
What is the reasoning behind these kind of question setup?
So reasoning behind this kind of setup is, uh, now everybody, if you look at the market, everybody is selling DSA course, right? Everybody knows the roadmap. Everybody knows what are the five common questions from DP. What are the five common questions from trees? Even if I don't have the logic building ability, I might recall that how did I write the code, and I can write the same code because I have might have solved that question, right? So it's very important to have some differentiating factors that can actually understand that if you are able to build the logic on a question you have never ever seen, right? And instead of having that thing on the complex topic which might lead to more complexity, people try to go for, easy topics, create some complexities. And I think same goes with IIT. Like in IIT we solve hundreds of mock questions before actually appearing for the exam, right? There are thousands of test series from Fitzy, Allen, and whatnot. But as soon as we see the paper of IIT, the question seems so fresh. The question seems have never been seen ever before, right? So it's the same case. Topics are same, concepts are same. It's just the way you define it creates a differentiating factor to understand the caliber, the true caliber of a student.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So when people are taking tests and taking courses and taking so much thing, what do you think is still missing? They don't do well because of which they don't crack eventually a MANG interview.
Hmm. Okay, I'll explain you with an with an example. So I am a trainer myself. I train at multiple edtechs at some colleges. Through you also have been to take some sessions in DSA. As a trainer, I will be comfortable in couple of examples of every topic. Let's suppose I'm trying to teach linked list. Okay, how to reverse a linked list, how to find the head of linked list, how to reverse the linked list, things like that. I have the very common examples in my mind. As a trainer, when I'm teaching student, I'll try to take those examples, same examples, right? Now as a student, if I am a trainer, and a student is learning from me, a student will learn only those five questions, right? Now if the person is not doing the self study, if the person is not going back solving questions from lead code, although the person will say I'm done with linked list, but the capacity will be limited. Only five questions which the trainer has taught will be there in their bucket, and those five questions is never gonna come in the any of the tech round, because those are the five basic questions which are academically required to understand the topic. So it's not just enough to academically be sound on a topic. It's very important to be industrial sound. And what do I mean by industrial sound? Go to Lead Code, go to XYZ platform, even ChatGPT is there. Just go and task 10 different questions, complex questions on Lead Code. So self study, filling the gap of self study is actually missing. Even if the people are selling course, people are buying course, over dependence on the course is happening, is what I feel. Whatever XYZ company has taught me, I learned everything. Now I'm assuming that I'm expert in DSA. No, you're not, because you have not done the self study. That company has sold same questions to thousands of people. So how are you different from the crowd? So that is what is the missing part.
No, this is interesting because I wanted to touch on this because everyone thinks that okay, what else to do?
Mm.
But the
Mm.
self-study is the missing secret.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you have to suggest a way, if you
Mm.
do this, 100% you will get into MANG. Okay, what would
Mm.
that be? Is there
Okay.
something like that?
So to be honest, there is nothing like that. I cannot say anything which can 100% guarantee. And I'll tell you why. Uh, every week there are almost 4,000 resumes are received in Microsoft from India itself. 4,000. And even if there is one opening, HR cannot go through 4,000 resumes. So what do they do is they pick random 500 resumes or 400 resumes from those 4,000, and then the interview process starts. Now, even if we select a candidate, it's very much possible that in the rest 3,000 or 3,500 people whose resumes was not even looked, there might be a much better candidate than the candidate you have selected. Right? Now, now it's luck, right? It's the whatever you call it. You call it luck, you call it coincidence, you call it being the right place at right time, whatever you call it as. But the fact is, you might have the best of the best resume, and still a person might not be able to look at your resume because the volumes is so high, right? So that is outside of the control. Hence nothing can guarantee 100% because a lot of factors are involved. But what I can do is I can tell you a mantra that can make you capable in terms of 100% ready in case you are going to an interview. you should be not be coming back getting rejected. So that mantra is sit, keep your head down for 6 months and study for 6 hours. 6 months, 6 hours. If you are starting from scratch, if you're already halfway there, 3 months is enough. But if you're starting from scratch, you don't have anything idea about DSA and you're aiming for MANG, 6 months, 6 hours is what I would say. And what to do in 6 months is a different discussion altogether. How to design a roadmap, how to create things. That is something is different, but that's a timeline I can commit. Yeah.
So be Yuvraj Singh of DSA, hit six sixes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Now, say for example, people have so much that okay, I want to go to Mang, I want to go to Mang.
Mhm.
You have been in Microsoft for what, around 5 years
Yep.
now?
6 years.
6 years now. Wow.
Mhm.
Is it worth it?
It depends what is your inner personality. Now, there are pros and cons joining a startup and joining a MANG. If you're joining a startup, you will be building products, you'll be writing code every day, you'll be learning like anything every day, you'll be facing new challenges every day, you'll be always in the uncomfortable zone every day. And being in the uncomfortable zone, that's where growth happens in terms of your technical understanding. You might be making eventually financially more than a person joining at Microsoft eventually if you're joining a startup, right? But the pathway is going to be very difficult. You will be working 12 hours a day, maybe you might be stretching on weekends, maybe you might lose a life of your own, there might not be any work life balance, right? But eventually after spending 6 7 years in startup, if I compare myself with a person who spent in startup, same my batchmate and who was in my college, he's much more technically sound than me. Now he is working in a startup because he feels that his skills will not be utilized in MAANG companies, although he has offers in MAANG, right? So whereas if you join a MAANG company, you are given a lot of liberty. There are a lot of work life balance, there are a lot of comfort, there are a lot of care that company gives you, there are a lot of time that company gives you to develop or perform a same small task. Okay, so once you're given a lot of comfort, a lot of work life balance, you stop striving because nobody is pushing you. So over there, you'll have a comfortable life, you'll have a comfortable life, you'll have a decent pay since the beginning, which will gradually increase. So if that is the role you're looking for, Mang is for you. But if you're looking for something that can, keep you on your toes, and eventually you'll be able to, make something substantial, startups is for you. So that's the difference.
So it's it's an internal calling, is as you say that
Yeah,
what you feel
absolutely.
like, you do
Hmm.
that. Awesome. So what we have discussed so far, I'm just looking back at the conversation we have had. So major
Hmm.
part is DSA. Do DSA well. Do be a problem solver. Listen well. Communicate well.
Yeah.
Put your head down for 6 months. Just study 6 hours every day. So
Hmm.
you will crack the first round of DSA. Second round
Yeah.
is also DSA.
Yes, all three rounds are DSA, and in that there are slight differences in each round. DSA along with DSA, first round is completely DSA. In second round, you might have DSA along with the questions around your projects that you have mentioned in the resume. So in case you have mentioned some projects in the resume, be very well prepared to answer what you have done in that project. And there is a very common question. I got this question that if I would have gotten an unlimited resource in terms of manpower or technical ability for my project, what differently I would have done in that, right? Now you would actually understand like how much a person can think. Like imagine unlimited manpower and resource. Even today, if we ask anyone, like everybody will take a while to speak, and what do they speak will define how much they can think broadly. So those kind of questions might come in project related. And in the third round, there might be some questions around OS, operating system, or DVMS. Very less, but there could be some questions around that. Yeah.
So it is important to have projects in your resume then.
Absolutely. You cannot have empty resume and just, you can have, but again, if 10 people are selected, if 5 people have projects in the resume and you do not have, there will be very little chances of you qualifying them.
Got it. Fair enough. So you have to be very active. You have to learn DSA. You have to build projects,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You will be able to compete in the first round, second round, third round. You said is about OS, is it?
yeah.
What does a student need?
ESA will be there, but along with that, some theoretical questions like operating system. For example, what are deadlocks? Like those questions are usually taught in the colleges as well. Like what are deadlocks in DBMS? What are the ACID principles of DBMS in computer network? What is IP address? Like some basic understanding you need to have about operating system, databases, computer networks, which are usually a part of syllabus in the college.
Fair enough. So, actual your theoretical knowledge of what you people say, it doesn't matter what you studied, but it actually
Mhm.
matters, is it?
It
Like
does.
the
It does.
the final round. So now the three rounds are done. Anything else after this?
The HR round, which is mostly a conversation. So unless you are not messing it up very, differently, it's a cakewalk. So HR round is mostly to understand your mindset, to understand if you are. They will try to understand if you have an aspiration to go for masters. Are you coming here just to get an offer? Things like that. But if you are very sure that you're going to join the company, HR round is a simplest round.
So not many people get rejected in the HR
Yeah,
round.
yeah, absolutely. Not many people.
So
Yeah.
if we have to rate the percentage of people selection, right? So first
Mm.
biggest rejection happens in resume round, right? You said it's also a chance of luck kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
scenario over there.
absolutely.
What is the percentage of rejection during the tech round and the first, second, third round of interviews?
So I'll
Uh,
give you stats. In the first 5,000 resumes, people are getting 500 is getting selected. So that's a clear miss of whatever percentage you can calculate. 80% is lost over there. 10% resume gets selected. Out of that 10%, let's suppose 500 resumes have been shortlisted. Everybody goes through a tech round where they have to implement the questions and all that. In that, maximum 30 or 40 gets selected, right? So again, a 10% selection from the second round, and then once 30 and 40 get selected, 3 rounds, 10, 10, 10 candidates keeps getting removed. So I think every round, the selection percentage is 10%, rejection is 90%, right? So yeah.
Okay, so it's damn tough. But what do you think? If you prepare for a MAANG interview, do you
Hmm.
end up preparing for a lot more, which will get you in some good companies any which way?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I say to people that do not prepare for Mang company, prepare yourself. Do not prepare for XYZ company. Like prepare yourself in DSA. That should be the funda, because if I keep my thoughts in a way that I'm preparing for Mang, I am blocking maybe the other good opportunities, because there are a lot of startups today. If I can actually name some startups who are paying better than Microsoft and Google, right? To the freshers. But at the same time, they are expecting a good amount of DSA skills, which are similarly what Mang expects, right? Mang has a brand, but even if that brand is not there today, if even if you're not starting with that brand, that's absolutely fine. You can go to the startup. You might be able to earn same amount or maybe better amount than Mang with your DSA concepts if they are strong enough. And eventually, maybe 2 3 years down the line, you can switch to Mang and maybe be at a better position than a person who started it at from Mang from the day one. Right? So that's a very easy possibility.
Nice, nice. So prepare yourself is a very deep
Hmm.
sentence, I would say. What would you include in all that? And I think since we have covered almost all the things which are there, have we missed something? Is there some hidden thing which you could share, or we have missed covering in the interview process, which you think students should know about?
No, I don't think we missed anything. I would just answer your question of what do I mean by preparing yourself, and that can just summarize the whole discussion we had. Uh, Preparing yourself, I would again summarize in the 3 points, and the similar 3 points I also told in the start of the conversation. The first point is be very have the understanding of end-to-end DSA. A lot of time people assume that just knowing the basics of the data structure and algorithm should be enough, but that's not the case. If I take lead code as a standard platform because it's free of cost and people can use it very easily, medium level questions is the standard place to be in. If you're able to solve at least 8 out of 10 medium level questions, you are ready for Mang company, is what I would give them a quantifiable, if to measure themselves. Out of every 10 questions, 9 easy level questions should be able to solve. Out of 8 medium level questions you should be able to solve. So that level, if you have reached, you are ready for Mang. So DSA expertise is must. And that is the ratio for all the topics, not just for easy or hard ones. On an average, it should be the ratio for arrays to trees, graphs, and everything. That's the first thing. Second thing is, do not stop at DSA. 10 years down the line, because things were not very common, data science was not common, full stack was not common, so having just the DSA core understanding was enough. But today competition has gone up because awareness has tremendously gone up. So you have to do something to stand you different from the crowd. Do what suits you, do what excites you. If I'm passionate about data and AI, learn about data science along with DSA. If I'm passionate about building websites, learn about front end and back end. If I'm passionate about understanding how crypto works, learn about blockchain. So do something that excites you. That's the second point I will say. Third point I would say is you should be able to explain the code you have written, and that comes from soft skills. If I have written the code and I'm not able to explain it, there is no use of that code. If I have something in my mind and I'm not able to speak about it, that means I don't have that thing in my mind. It's as simple as that. Because to the interviewer, they will only know what do you know if you are able to articulate it well. So working on the communication skills instead of watching random videos on YouTube, watch TED talks, Josh talks to understand how the speakers speak, how they frame their thoughts, actually makes a difference. So these three things is what I would suggest under the quote of preparing yourself.
No, this is really amazing, and it's as you said, you are not preparing just for interviews. In some ways, you are preparing for life with this,
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
think that's what eventually ends up,
Mm.
making you grow. Now, just one more interesting question, right? Are the people
Mm.
who getting into MAANG different from any other people? Are they cut from different cloth, or can anyone be that person?
Anyone can be that person. I don't see that they are different. I see their mindset is different. I see there are people the people, I see a clear difference in terms of people who are in working in tier 1 versus people who are working in tier 3 companies. And I'll tell you what, because I also have a small startup where I have people from tier 1 company and tier 3 company, so I see a clear differentiation between them. When I give some work to a tier 1 company or tier 1 company employee who are working in Mang or Fang, although they have never worked on that problem statement ever before, although they have never ever thought about writing a code for solving this particular problem, they never say no to it because they always feel there has to be a way to do it. And they are very inquisitive. They do not hesitate to go to Google, talk about, read about things from scratch, even if they don't know it about it. So that's a differentiating factor. Whereas if I give something to a person who is working in a tier 3 company, what I've seen is they always come back saying that I have not done this ever, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. So it's a belief. Tier 1 folks believe that they can do it. Tier 3 folks believe that they cannot do it. But the fact is anybody can do it. So it's just that how you what you believe you become. That's how it is.
Is it the secret kind of missing piece? If people have it more, they will be able to get more in life, not just MAANG?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think this is the fact, not just about Mang, Fang, or IT. It's just the fact in any career, right? Unless you believe that you cannot do it, you won't be able to do it actually. So, uh, and you not on a hypothetically surface level belief. It has to be actually coming from within. That you should be able to have that confidence in saying that since I have done this, I should be able to do this as well, even though I do not have any understanding of this, right? So that belief is a differentiating factor for sure.
Perfect, perfect. So I think we are coming at the end of it, and wonderful. Means it's all started from the steps and the tests and the DSAs of thing, and it boils down to the basic human aspects eventually.
Mm.
Is it that okay? You sit, you put focus, you improve, you learn. You don't say no. You say yes to the challenge and learn from there. So
Yeah.
if you have to sum up all of the things you have been through, and if you have to give a message and a parting word to the
Mm.
student, and I think you have already done that, but I'm just
Mm.
I think there's more which you could share, so just putting
Mhm.
one more aspect to this. If you have to give a
Mm.
parting word or advice to the student to go big in life, to get MAANG, or to get to their dream companies, how do they
Mm.
approach things?
I would say two things. First thing, understand the why of everything, like why part. For example, if you're doing DSA, why you are doing DSA. If the why is very strong enough, if you know the reason of why you're doing it, in anything in life in general, you will have more drive towards doing it, right? Like why we are doing this podcast. Like I am very clear because it gives me happiness in sharing my thoughts and giving back to society. So that why is clear. So that zeal comes from within, that I am able to do it because I'm enjoying it, right? If I today I have to switch to Google, right, and there is a clear purpose of me switching to Google because I want to maybe work on search engine and I'm really passionate about it. If the why is clear, then I'll be able to put efforts in DSA, reading DSA. If my why is not clear, that why am I doing this, that is unclear, maybe my action will not have that zeal, that confidence, or I might not be able to sustain it, right? So whatever student is picking up, make sure you're not doing just because your friend did it, not doing just because I am saying it, not because just because there is a course selling a course free of cost and you can do it. Not that. Have a why which is very specific to why do you need it and it actually relates to you. That is one. So the why part. And the second thing is be an enthusiastic learner. Now, don't learn something because you have to learn it and you have to go through it. Find something good about it, or maybe do things with enthusiasm, because things which are not done with enthusiasm will not be with you for a long time. Like, even if today I make you forcefully sit and solve 5 questions, you might not be able to solve it in the upcoming assessments or interviews because you did not enjoy doing it. So enthusiastic learning is actually important.
Wow, wow. I think this is amazing, Shubham, and I think we have covered the aspects which all the students should be looking at, not just for interviews but for life. But yeah, for
Yeah,
interviews always, also, I think what you have shared is really impeccable. Again, as usual, pleasure to talk to you. You know, have these words. Every time something new also comes up whenever we talk. So this is also really cool. And thanks for
great.
the time. It was really great to have you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Good day.
Perfect.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye, Shivam.